Pay close attention to this, because it might be uncomfortable to hear. You're not losing money because you invest poorly. You're losing money because you don't even realize the mistake you're making. And the worst part? 97% of people are making this exact same mistake right now. Before I explain what that mistake is, do something quickly. Hit the like button now. Subscribe to the channel. Because this kind of content doesn't show up for people who aren't ready to break out of the average. And stay with me until the end, because what you're about to understand could completely change the way you see money, investing, and freedom. Now imagine the following situation. You decide to do everything right. You start saving. Cut expenses. Stop buying useless things. Start investing. Maybe you've already done this. You open your account, buy some investments. And think. Now it's happening, now my money is going to grow. But months go by. And nothing changes. Your money goes up a little. Then goes down. Then stays flat. And in the end, it feels like you're running. But not getting anywhere. Has this ever happened to you? Because if it has, let me tell you the truth no one tells you. The problem isn't that you're not investing. The problem is how you're thinking about investing. Now pay very close attention to this, because it's simple, but it will open your mind. Investing is not just putting money somewhere. If it were, everyone who invests would be rich. But they're not. So what's missing? Let me explain with a very simple story. Imagine you plant a tree. You pick the best seed. Put it in the ground. Water it every day. And even then, it doesn't grow. So you think, maybe the seed is bad. And you replace the seed. Plant it again. Water it again. And nothing. You change it again. And again. And again. But the problem was never the seed. The problem was the soil. Now let me ask you something. Backhand index pointing right, what if you're doing exactly this with your money? You keep switching investments all the time. Follow internet tips. Buy something because someone said so. Sell because it dropped. But you never stop to understand the most important thing. The environment where your money is growing. And this is where the mistake that 97% of people make comes in. But before I reveal exactly what that mistake is, you need to understand something almost no one understands, and that completely changes the game. Remember the tree? The one that didn't grow, no matter how many times you changed the seed. Now think about this. Most people keep changing the seed, but never improve the soil. And in the world of investing, this has a simple name. Backhand index pointing right, impatience disguised as strategy. Yes, it feels like you're being smart. It feels like you're adjusting, improving, optimizing. But in practice, you're just sabotaging the growth of your own money. Let me show you how this happens in real life. You invest in something. 1 week passes. Nothing happens. 1 month passes. It goes up a little, then drops. Then you start thinking, maybe this investment isn't that good. So you sell. And move into another one. And here's the point almost no one realizes. Every investment needs time to grow. But you don't give it time. Now imagine a child planting a tree, again. They plant it today. And tomorrow they dig it up to see if the root has grown. The next day, they dig again. And again. And again. What happens to the tree? It dies. Not because the seed was bad. Not because the soil was bad. But because it was never allowed to grow. And that's exactly what you might be doing with your money. Now pay attention to this sentence, because it can completely change your perspective. Wealth doesn't come from choosing the perfect investment. It comes from holding good investments long enough. But here's the dangerous part. Because the internet is full of people showing. This investment went up 200%. This stock exploded. Look how much I made in a short time. And this creates an illusion in your mind. Backhand index pointing right that fast growth is normal. Backhand index pointing right that taking time is a mistake. Backhand index pointing right that if it hasn't gone up yet, you did something wrong. But reality is different. And I'll explain it in the simplest way possible. There are two types of people in the market. 1. Those who look smart. They keep switching investments all the time. Trying to predict the next move. Always chasing the best. 2. Those who actually get rich. They choose good assets. And let time do the heavy lifting. And here's something that might hurt a little. You don't get rich by doing more. You get rich by interfering less. Yes, sometimes the best move is to do nothing. But wait. That's not all. Because there's an even deeper mistake behind all of this. A mistake that makes you choose the wrong investments. Enter at the wrong time. Exit at the worst possible time. Without even realizing it. And this mistake starts long before you invest. It starts. Backhand index pointing right in the way you see money. Everything starts before the investment. Long before. It starts with something that seems simple, but controls everything. Backhand index pointing right the way you see money. Let me show you this in a way anyone can understand. There are two ways to see money. Brain way 1, most people. Money equals something to spend or save. Brain way 2, the minority that gets rich. Money equals something that works for you. It looks the same, but it's not. And this small difference changes everything. Now pay attention to this. Most people do this. Work, earn money. Save a little. Invest without really understanding. Keep checking if it went up or down. But deep down. Backhand index pointing right, they still treat money as something static. Now look at how people who build wealth think. Work, earn money. Put that money to work. And let it work for years. Without touching it. Without interrupting it. Without sabotaging it. Now let me ask you a very simple question. Backhand index pointing right, how can something grow, if you don't let it grow? It sounds obvious, but almost no one lives this in practice. Because there's a silent enemy here. Warning: addiction to fast results. You've been conditioned to want everything fast. Fast results. Fast money. Fast growth. And when that doesn't happen, backhand index pointing right, you think you're doing something wrong. But let me tell you the truth that changes the game. Money grows slowly, until suddenly, it grows fast. It's like pushing a giant rock. At first, nothing happens. You push, and it doesn't even move. But you keep going. And keep going. And keep going. Until one moment. Backhand index pointing right, it starts moving. And after that, it gets easier and easier. This has a name in investing. Backhand index pointing right, compound interest. But forget the complicated term. Think of it like this. It's money working, and then bringing more money to work with it. But there's a crucial detail that 97% of people ignore. Backhand index pointing right, this only works with time. Now put everything you've seen together. You switch investments too quickly. You don't wait. You chase immediate results. You think you're wrong when you don't see fast growth. Result? Backhand index pointing right, you interrupt the process before it even starts working. It's like turning off the oven, before the food is ready. And then saying, cooking doesn't work. But there's more. Because even if you understand all of this, there's still one final mistake, the most dangerous of all. A mistake that makes you know what to do, and still not do it. Now pay very close attention. Because this is the point where most people freeze, even after understanding everything. Have you ever noticed something strange? A lot of people know what they should do with money, but still don't do it. They know they need to invest. They know they need patience. They know they shouldn't keep exiting all the time. And yet, backhand index pointing right, they do the exact opposite. Why? The answer is simple and uncomfortable. Warning emotion. Yes. It's not lack of information. It's not lack of strategy. Backhand index pointing right, it's lack of emotional control. Now imagine this. You invest. And suddenly, your money starts going down. Not 1%. But 5%. 10%, maybe more. In your head, a dialogue begins. What if I lose everything? Better to pull out now. I'll come back later. And that's it. Backhand index pointing right, you sell. Now guess what happens next? The market goes up. And then you think, I knew it. I should have stayed. But it's too late. This has a simple name. You got out at the worst possible time, out of fear. Now look at the other side. You see someone making money fast. An investment going up sharply. Everyone talking about it. And then another thought comes. If I don't get in now, I'm going to miss this opportunity. And that's it. Backhand index pointing right, you buy. And guess what? Right after, it drops. Backhand index pointing right, you got in at the worst time, out of impulse. Do you see the pattern? You sell when you should hold. You buy when you should wait. And this happens because backhand index pointing right, you let emotion make decisions that should be rational. Now pay attention to this sentence, because it can save years of your financial life. Your money's biggest enemy isn't the market. It's you, reacting to the market. And here's why 97% of people don't get rich, even when they invest. It's not because they chose bad investments. Backhand index pointing right, it's because they couldn't stick to the plan. Now go back to our tree story. Imagine that this time, you chose a good seed. Planted it in the right soil. Watered it properly. But every day you come back. And pull it out a little out of fear. Or mess with it out of anxiety. Or move it, thinking there's a better spot. What happens? Backhand index pointing right, it never grows. And now you finally understand. It's not about investing better. Backhand index pointing right, it's about stopping yourself from interfering with growth. But wait. It's not over yet. Because now comes the part that changes everything. Backhand index pointing right, what you should do starting today. No complication. No magic formula. No unrealistic promises. Just what actually works. Perfect. Now this is the part everyone waits for, but few actually follow. Pay attention, because this is simple, and precisely because it's simple, most people ignore it. After everything you've seen, you don't need more information. Backhand index pointing right, you need direction. So here's a clear, direct plan that anyone, even a child, can understand and apply. Compass step 1, stop chasing the best. Forget about the best investment. What goes up the most? What's going to explode? That's a trap. Think of it this way. Backhand index pointing right, the best investment isn't the one that goes up the most. It's the one you can hold for the longest time. Compass step 2, choose simple and consistent things. You don't need to complicate it. In fact, backhand index pointing right, the simpler, the better. Most people's mistake is trying to be too smart, when in reality, the game is about consistency. Simple example. Investments that grow over time. Things you at least understand. Nothing that makes you lose sleep. If you can't sleep peacefully with an investment, backhand index pointing right, you won't be able to hold it. Compass step 3, create a rule and follow it without thinking. Here's the secret that changes everything. Backhand index pointing right, decide in advance, so you don't have to decide later. Example. Invest a portion of your money every month. Don't sell based on emotion. Don't change your plan every week. Because when the hard moment comes, and it will come, backhand index pointing right, you won't need to think. You'll just follow the plan. Compass step 4, stop checking all the time. This is one of the most powerful ones. And almost no one does it. Checking your investments every day is like backhand index pointing right, digging up a plant to see if it has grown. This only increases anxiety, fear, bad decisions. Look less. Trust the process more. Compass step 5, let time do the heavy lifting. This is the most important one of all. And also the most ignored. Backhand index pointing right, wealth is built quietly, over time. Not in days. Not in weeks. Not in months. In years. But here's the point that changes everything. Those who endure the process, reap results that few achieve. Now put it all together. You stop switching all the time. You control your emotions. You follow a simple plan. You give it time. Backhand index pointing right, that's it. You're already doing more than 97% of people. Clapperboard closing, the truth that changes everything. If you made it this far, you've already understood something most people never will. Backhand index pointing right, it's not about doing more. It's about making fewer mistakes. It's not about being a genius investor. It's not about predicting the market. It's not about always being right. Backhand index pointing right, it's about continuing, when others quit. And remember this. The money game isn't won by the one who runs the fastest, but by the one who stays in the race long enough. Now let me ask you something. Backhand index pointing right, are you going to keep being part of the 97%? Or are you going to start, today, playing the game the right way? If this content opened your mind in any way, thumbs up, hit the like button. Push pin, subscribe to the channel. Because here, you'll learn how to build something school never taught. Backhand index pointing right, real financial freedom. And comment down below. Speech balloon, I'm out of the 97%. Because when you write that, you're not just commenting. Backhand index pointing right, you're making a decision. See you in the next video.